Hi, everybody. Today we are going to take a look at these skills known as quoting, summarizing, and especially paraphrasing. And there on the screen you can see the sources of the material in this presentation. So to start off with, we ask the question, what are the differences among quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing? Well, quotations are identical to the original source material. They must match the source document exactly, word for word. And that is where a lot of people, kind of fall down with quoting things. You really need to be careful. And finally, they must be attributed to the original source and author. Paraphrasing is where you take a passage from the source material, but it's translated into your own words. This also has to be attributed to the original source author, and it's usually about the same length as the original passage. It might be a little shorter or a little longer, but about the same length. Finally, summarizing is where you take the main ideas of the source material, you put them into your own words, and it's much shorter than the original. Summaries must also be attributed to the original source and author, of course, but they present a broad overview of the source material. Now, this word attribute is in there a few times. This means you have to give credit to the person whose ideas or words you are using. In all these cases, whether you summarize, paraphrase, or quote, you must be careful to make it clear that these are not your words or ideas. You must say where and from whom the words and ideas came. Failure to do this, of course, leaves you open to the accusation of plagiarism, and you don't want that. Here's an example of a little paragraph here that combines all three of these, quotes, paraphrase, and summary. And it goes like this. In his famous and influential work, The Interpretation of Dreams, Sigmund Freud argues that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. And there you have a citation of the page number. Expressed in coded imagery, the dreamer's unfulfilled wishes through a process known as the dream work. According to Freud, actual but unacceptable desires are censored internally and subjected to coding through layers of condensation and displacement before emerging in a kind of rebus puzzle in the dream itself. So there you have where it came from in his book, and from whom it came from. And that's the important stuff. And of course, the quotations are enclosed with quotation marks. Why do it? Why use quotations, paraphrases, and summaries? Well, most importantly, you provide support for any claims that you make or you add credibility to your writing. You give examples of different points of view on a subject. You call attention to a point that you wish to agree or disagree with. You highlight a particularly striking phrase, sentence, or passage by quoting the original. So, and of course, in a research paper, using quotations, paraphrases, and summaries, that's a major part of the paper because you are putting together material from a lot of different sources. So, looking at paraphrasing here. For a paraphrase, you write it in your own words. It's about the same length as the original or a little shorter. Your own rendition of ideas, that is, that a paraphrase is your own rendition of ideas expressed by someone else in different words, that is to say, your words. It's a legitimate way, when accompanied by attribution, to use ideas from another source. It's a more detailed restatement than a summary, which the summary, of course, reduces a longer text to its most important points. Now, the key here is in your own words. The paraphrase should have very little overlap of words or phrases from the original. Sometimes it can be hard to find synonyms or different ways to express an idea or to name a concept. In such cases, you can use the same words, but this really should be minimal. And changing the order of ideas is fine as long as the meaning is still in line with the original. So why do it? Why paraphrase? Well, it's a really valuable skill because, again, you can include others' ideas within the flow of your own writing. It helps you to control the temptation to quote too much, which some people might suffer from that temptation. The mental process required for successful paraphrasing helps you to grasp the full meaning of the original. In other words, you learn by paraphrasing. You really have to learn the material well to paraphrase it well. Now let's take a look at an example. Okay, here's an original piece of writing. It goes like this. Students frequently overuse direct quotation in taking notes, and as a result, they overuse quotations in the final paper. Probably only about 10% of your final manuscript should appear as directly quoted material. Therefore, you should strive to limit the amount of exact transcribing of source materials while taking notes. Okay, pretty dry stuff, but anyway, that's the original. Now we're going to look at two paraphrases, and the question is, which one is better? So the first one. In research papers, students often quote excessively, failing to keep quoted material down to a desirable level. Since the problem usually originates during note-taking, it is essential to minimize the material recorded verbatim. Second attempt at a paraphrase. Students often use too many direct quotations when they take notes, resulting in too many of them in the final paper. In fact, probably only about 10% of the final copy should consist of directly quoted material. So it is important to limit the amount of source material copied while taking notes. Now, based on what we have learned about paraphrasing, which one of these is better? Well, first of all, both of them capture the sense of the original pretty well. Okay, so that's not the question. The question is, which one is a better paraphrase? So let's take a look at the exact, the use of exact words from the original piece. Okay. The first one, we've got papers, and the original says paper, quoted and quoted, note taking, note is, the word note appears in the original. And then material, for some reason, it's not in yellow in the paraphrase, but yeah, the material also appears in the original. So really 4 words. Now look at the second one. You should see a big difference there. Okay, the second one is really, this writer just changed a few words. It's really not a good paraphrase. So yeah, we're going to say that one is not the good one. Okay. And let's just kind of back up here and look at this one. So once again, this one captures well enough the original, the sense of the original. It's, it's about the same length. It looks like it's a little bit shorter. And it does the job with different words. So that makes it a better paraphrase. That's your goal. Okay, now we'll just have a little wrap up here. First of all, when you're doing paraphrasing, think about the original idea as a whole, not piece by piece, part by part. Where people often go wrong doing paraphrasing is they try to do it, word by word or even phrase by phrase, and it just turns out to not flow. It looks like they just used a thesaurus and found synonyms. Change entire phrases or sentences. Don't just change a few words here and there. That was like that second example that we saw there. And again, changing the order of ideas is fine, but be sure to preserve the meaning of the original. Another example. This is an example of changing the order of ideas. The weather may change at any moment, so you should bring rain gear. That's the original. Here's our paraphrase. It's a good idea to pack clothing for any weather conditions, as conditions can be variable. So there we've changed the order of the ideas and we've changed all the words. To be honest, the only thing I don't like in that paraphrase is the repetition of the word conditions. So it probably could use a little more revision, to tell you the truth. But anyway, that's it for this presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.